Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Taking Up Space on Michelle A. Mirror Podcast. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. It doesn't hurt to join. If you could, look, I feel like this, and I know I'm very blunt, so I'm going to try to smooth this for you. If you find it relevant to watch from afar, then it's just as relevant if you were to enter in. Why not just enter and come on in and relax and hear the same message? I've come forward just for you. You're that special to me. I've come forward just for you, literally. And if I can humble myself to say that I got up and I thought of relevant communications, if I open myself up to the Spirit of God and allow it to move through me so that I'm an antenna to what God wants me to say, willingly I do these things, and then I formulate concepts and I come forward and I do it all just for you, the least you could do is come on in and relax. It's the least you could do. But we all have our reasons for things. So, again, it is what it is. But nonetheless, today's conversation, y'all, I want to take this thing further. This whole analogy that God has been putting on my spirit. Over the last week or so, it's been this thing about pressure that has been, welcome everyone, welcome. This whole idea of pressure has been on my spirit over the last week, and it's been unfolding as it always does when God wants me to speak to something. There have been many things that have gone on in my life that I've been dealing with for a very, very long time, not just for like 2, 3, 4 years, but I'm talking about for an extreme amount of my life, like decades. I've been dealing with things, and they haven't been like all at once. They've been sprinkled here and there, but they've created a theme in my life that I can look back on now and see the hand of God in them. And that hand has led me to where I am now. It wouldn't be, if it weren't for the circumstances that I have experienced in my life, over the last 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't have been able to connect the dots. That's the thing with God. He works in subtleties. Even though chaos comes upon you, the things of God are the subtle things that happen during the chaos. Those are the things you got to pay attention to. And it's a lot of wisdom in them when you pay attention to them. But if you don't pay attention to them, they'll go right past you. You miss them. But today I want to speak to Genesis. I want to speak to the Genesis chapter 37. I want to use the story of Joseph as an example. Last week or a couple of days ago, I was using the story of Gideon because that's where we were in the Bible. I didn't pick that for any other reason except for we were on a journey, and I introduced Deborah into that whole conversation and what she and Jael had did in putting the house on the map. And then really not focusing all of the attention on that, but then jumping into the story of Gideon, because that's exactly what the Bible did. It began with the story of Jael and Deborah and Barak, and then it jumped right into the story of Gideon. And today I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to go into the book of Genesis, and we're going to speak to the story of Joseph. And instead of explaining, I'll just read. Chapter 37. Of Genesis, verse 1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. Friend. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance unto me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. Okay, so this was on my spirit. It was on my spirit yesterday and the day before, and I wanted to incorporate it into the both the Bible study and the follow-up podcast that would not have occurred. I would not have done a follow-up podcast had the Bible study not gone awry with the whole scenario that happened. But I didn't really focus so much on it because obviously there was another plan that God had in store for me to speak to this, which is today. I was thinking about this today as to how God will lead you on a monumental journey, and you won't realize the relevancy of it, the fullness of it, until you've reached certain legs on that journey. You will embark upon a journey without knowing you're on a journey. This is what happened to Joseph. He's going from one thing to the next, strangeness upon strangeness, and all of it starts within him. All of his issues of life that he experiences are because of things that are naturally occurring within him. He's not going outside of himself to enact any of these things. He's not taking it upon himself to bring these things upon him. He doesn't go searching for them. He doesn't go knocking on God's door, asking for them. He doesn't go taking classes to get expertise in them. He's just living life, minding his business, doing what he was created to do. How do I know that? Well, the book of Genesis, chapter 37, opens with it. Verse 2. It speaks to Joseph being in the field with his two brethren. The brethren that his father had with the handmaids. Here we go with this handmaid thing again. The children conceived in fear. The children that were conceived because the wife, the Joseph's mother, didn't believe she would be able to conceive. Fear. Another Sarah situation. Now these children have grown up. Products of this mindset. You have one son that was born out of love, out of prayer. Jacob and Rachel prayed for Joseph. He was a child they had longed to have. And now he's 17 with his two older brothers, two of the other 11. Yet these are default children. These are children that they had as a cautionary clause in case God didn't come through. I mean, it sounds terrible, but really, that's really the condensed version of this. And Joseph is in the field with them, the youngest. And he's showing characteristics that Adam showed that got Adam blessed with Eve. He's naming. He's using his intellect and he is sizing character up. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. He's telling on them, basically. That's pretty much what it is. Joseph is in the field with two of his brothers, children by the maids, the handmaids. Nothing wrong with it, not showing any type of disregard to the maids, because, you know, I lied to Hagar. And he's observing them in a way of somewhat judgment. He's holding himself in a leadership capacity to be able to size up his brothers. He's the youngest, mind you. And to say, this is what I think you're doing correctly, and this is what I think you're doing incorrectly, based upon the criteria that our Father has raised us under. And he goes and he tells his father what they're doing in the field. The Bible conveys this to show the temperament of Joseph, the type of person he is. He takes it upon himself to not follow his brothers blindly in their folly and their interactions in life. Yet he even though he's amongst them, they know he's not the person that's just going to follow them and let them lead him to hell. He's going to be a critical thinker. He's going to think about it and he's going to say, no, I don't think this is right. Or, okay, I align closer to this. He's going to judge it. He's going to do what he was created to do as a sovereign man in the earth, a leader. Same thing Adam did in naming the animals. And then it shows that this pleases Jacob, because it says Jacob loved Joseph. He was the son of his old age. The Bible is somewhat conveying Joseph to the way Cush loved Nimrod. Son of his old age, coat of many colors. Or even, let's just say, the Bible is conveying Joseph to Cush, the son of Ham. How Ham loved Cush, son of his old age, coat of many colors. And his brethren see this, and it causes dissension between him and his brethren. Yet Joseph does not buckle under the pressure of the dissension. This is what's very important about Joseph. Joseph does not go into people-pleasing mode where he's now in a place where he feels like he wants to be accepted by his brethren because he's the youngest, and he wants to be accepted by his older brothers. So now he's going to lower the flow of spiritual water in his life because he doesn't want to offend his brothers. He doesn't want to do what God or his father, Jacob, rely upon him to do, because he wants to fit in amongst his brethren more. He doesn't do that. He sees the divide between he and them, and it's all based upon character. It's not based upon material wealth. It's not based upon physical prowess. It's all based upon internal aspects that are character derivative. And his brothers cannot manipulate that out of him. They can't scare it out of him. These are all mighty men. You don't think that there was some wrestle and tug of war physically going on amongst them? You don't think that they ever tried to do that? That's the first activity that someone does is I'm going to try to physically attack you to make you buckle to me. But they see that that does not work with Joseph. Joseph is not afraid of that. Okay, we've been there and done that. What are we doing now? Okay, we've already wrestled, friend. Okay, we're going to wrestle again. What are we doing? I'm leaning on my knowing. How is my knowing so reinforced within me and it's not as adamant within you? What's the difference? And this is the part I want to focus on. Joseph would have a relationship with God. And this would be the primary thing that would give Joseph the ammunition to move forward triumphantly and victoriously in life. This would be the separating factor between he and his brethren. He would have tapped into a alignment, a relationship with himself to be able to receive the downloads from God in the form of dreams or prophecies. The two prophecies that Joseph brings forward to his brethren were an end result of a long build. They had to have been. Why else would it bother his brethren so much? Why else would it be not surprising to his brethren that he's having these dreams? When the Bible conveys that Joseph is having these dreams and he's telling people about them, it's so lackadaisical in its conveyance that it's somewhat interpreted as if it was normal for Joseph to have these dreams. These are not one-offs or two-offs. These are builds over long periods of time. This whole family of people expected Joseph to have dreams. And in him having these dreams over time, it builds his internal knowing. You see, when God works through you, friend, they're subtle. They're subtleties. They're not monumental things that come upon you at first. They're not. They're builds and they're incremental. And he would get to a place where he would become adjusted to the rejection from his brothers regarding his gifts. He would understand through interaction with his brothers that there's going to be a push and pull between these people and me because I'm doing what I do. Just by me doing my own thing and aligning to my own calling, there's going to be resistance. Why? Because it's been resistance all along. Why? Because the things that I expound upon to my brethren, they don't want to hear. They don't agree with. And I've tried every avenue I could to convert them into seeing things the way that I see them, and that didn't work. I've tried in every way I can to convert my own perception in seeing it their way, and that doesn't work for me either. This is Joseph. And now I'm just going to have to stand in what I know and accept the fact that there is a divide and gird myself in a way that I can withstand what comes from this divide. This is Joseph. Joseph comes to his brothers with these dreams. Monumental dreams. Dreams that if the brothers were confident and secure in their own walk, they would have openly embraced Joseph because of the dreams. They would have looked at it as a team effort. Everybody worthy of capitalizing off of Joseph's promises from God. But because his brethren were not standing in the totality of their creation, They hated him for having these dreams because his dreams meant success for him, and they meant challenges and changes for them. Joseph saw a greater vision. Even though his brothers would know that God would have a promise over Joseph's life, that they would not be able to stop. This is how the mind works. This is what I say, the extremes do this to you. You will try to create any kind of scenario, even if it's an impossible scenario, within your own mind to deal with what is before you. Because changing is too much. You don't have any resources. You don't have any technique. And the spotlight is on you. His brothers could not change their ways. They couldn't openly embrace Joseph. Even his brother, was it Simon? Or Reuben, the one that wasn't really interested in harming Joseph, he didn't even feel strong enough amongst his brothers to step in and say, this is wrong, y'all. He didn't feel confident. These are mighty men. Mighty men that Joseph is being attacked by. And he's holding his ground. He goes from one disadvantaged state to the next. You never hear him begging these people. You never hear him buckling. He just goes from one to the next, and he makes the most out of every situation he finds himself in. How could he do this? This is the point of this conversation. How do you make the most out of every single thing you find yourself in? Because you saw it before it came. Joseph saw all these things. I'm willing to bet money. He saw all of this before it came upon him. That's the thing with God. He will show it to you. And it's for you to pay attention when he shows. And it's for you to hold that thing in your memory, in the subconscious bank of your kingdom. So that when it shows itself, you move through it in power. And this will be the difference between Joseph and his brothers. They would not have the foresight. So that when things came upon them, they used their physical capabilities only in prevailing. And that in itself takes them completely off grid from the power of God. They're working off the sweat of their brow. Joseph is not working off the sweat of his brow. Many of you are not working off the sweat of your brow, friend. And this is an anomaly to the world because many in the world are working off the sweat of their brow only. This was the curse. They're still bound to that degree of intellectualism. They're still bound into the lower self, the animalistic nature. They have not risen and ascended as they should have. And because of that, they are not partakers of promise. They are beggars. They are beasts. They are wild men in the field. They are to be controlled and contained. By what? Intellectual. spiritual prowess. One can come upon them and learn their nature and bind them. This would be Joseph. Joseph would learn his brothers. And he would handle them. They would not be able to handle Joseph. And it would frustrate them so much because every time they look around, he's being blessed in their faces. And they can invoke no level of control upon him. They can't scare him. They can't attack him and prevail. They can do nothing. Yet all he has to do is tell them a thing, and he binds them. You can see him now. He's in the kitchen, getting his water. You know, I had a dream last night. Yo, you want to talk about my outfit and what I got on? Yeah, I didn't spend nothing for it, friend. Didn't cost me nothing. Bought it off Amazon. Yep. But guess what? I had a dream last night, friend. You want to hear it? I know. No, I know you're busy, but I'm going to tell you before you go so you can have a good day. Let me tell you. Since you told me about my outfit, guess what? I had a dream, and my dream was this. We were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheave arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood all round about my sheaf and made obeisance to my sheaf. All of your sheaves bowed down to my sheaf, friend. That was my dream I had last night. He gets them with stuff like that, where they trying to grab hold of him and they spending all kind of money and they sitting up talking amongst each other and plotting to get him. All he has to do is come with something like that. The truth. The truth binds them. Something as simple as telling the truth does them dirty, friend. It's like a vampire getting caught up when the sun is coming up. Oh! Oh! Stop it! Flee from me! Hide me! They can't take it. The truth. And there will be this truth that would lead them to try to find a way of physically limiting this man. They will use physicality to try to limit him, when all he needs to do is speak a truth. Just pick one. It don't even have to be a new truth. He could pick an old truth that he dreamt 15 years before. 10 years before. I remember when I was 12, I had a dream about you, Judah. Simon, I know you ain't over there talking. You know what I saw of you? I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to tell you. You don't deserve it. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let you keep on. I'm going to let that truth show in your life without me ever even speaking it to you. It's going to be, surprise. This is Joseph. Surprise. And so because of this, I'm telling you this so that you can get a mental understanding of what is going on here. The fundamental to this. You got people mad, his brothers are mad because they cannot physically harm him. because he's blessed. Yet he can harm them without ever touching them, just by telling them the truth. How? Because they know deep inside of themselves that what he's saying is true. Yet they feel limited in their ability to rise and embrace that truth and allow it to make lasting changes in their lives. And because it frustrates them to a point, it takes on physical emanations in their lives. It affects them. Friend, and so they do wickedness against their brother. But this too will work to Joseph's benefit. How? Because like I said, friend, God had been sending Joseph dreams all along. And there were many dreams that Joseph dreamed that he did not tell his brothers. You don't get good at something because you've just had experiences with them once or twice. You get good at something because you've had many experiences with them. He's a master dream interpreter. He's been so good at mastering the art of dream interpretation and his alignment to God that he knows God. The imposters don't work on Joseph because he's linked all in. He knows God's voice. He knows God's methods and his mannerisms. He knows how to test it. He's gotten very interested in that. So much so that he's gone all into it. He's a master at such things. He's a master of himself. So whether he's in the pit or in Potiphar's house, or they send him to the prison, or he goes before the king of Egypt, he's paying attention. He knows that all is well and it will continue to be well. I saw these things. They're not surprises. Friend, there will be things that will come upon your life in your life that you would have seen already. Yet you won't remember you saw them until you begin to tread in that direction. There will be things that people will speak over you that you haven't seen, and you say, okay, I didn't see that. That ain't coming. Okay. So we don't pay that any attention. That's a lie. They need me to focus on that so that I can make that a reality. That's another one of the tricks of the enemy. He'll send you rogue ideas in the form of vessels, people speaking things, trying to propagate fear, or even imposing a dream in your own mind while you're sleeping. But you must be like Joseph, where you can distinguish, is this of God or is this not of God? And then after you're able to do that, you can say, okay, yeah, this is the enemy. Yeah, we're not paying any of that any attention. You get no emotion from that out of me, because that's not for me. Yeah, I rebuke that and send that back to you, because it's no place for that here. Figure out what you're going to do with that, because I don't accept that energy, and I'm not even going to convert it. I'm going to let that go back into you and show up in your life as a learning curve for you. My main focus in this conversation is that a lot of things that show up in your life that look like anomalies to other people are things you've already seen. You just couldn't make sense of. God will never lead you somewhere where he can't bring you out of. I've not ever seen it. God will not ever lead you somewhere where you are not prepared. God will not do it. A lot of the sequences of events that are unfolding in many of our lives are doing just that, unfolding in sequences. You don't get the full story until that next level of unfolding happens. And even then, you don't get the full story. You get just what you need to handle that leg of the journey. It goes back to what I said yesterday about God coming upon Gideon and saying, okay, you make the first selection. You give the people the ability to turn around and leave those that are afraid to fight these Midianites. And 22,000, 21,000, whatever, leave. And they're left with 10,000. And God says, okay, now I'm going to make this selection. Because all of these people are not what they say they are. They're not being honest with you or with themselves. I need to eradicate all of the fear. And the only way that I do that is by testing a thing. And my tests, they are tests in ways that the enemy can't impose himself in. Because we got a number of variables going on. We got a number of enemies at hand. We got the supernatural enemies that are in the invisible, puppeteering all of this on the, not all of this, but puppeteering things with their minions. And then we got the minions thinking that they're in control. Systems inside of systems. Then we got God controlling all of it. Then we have the children of God moving off of the direction of God. Everybody is doing their own thing, leading to a larger situation. Yet everybody thinks they're doing it on their own. Friend, Joseph would keep going regardless. It was not that Joseph hated his brothers and he wanted to get on their nerves and to harm them. Joseph showed more patience with his brothers than anybody in the Bible, friend. They did wickedness against this man in ways that was just unjustifiable. The time he lost, the discomfort he experienced. You just can't. How do you compensate someone for that? How do you even apologize to someone for that? You never hear his brothers apologizing because I'm sure they probably didn't even know how. How can I apologize for doing something as deviously wicked as that? Wishing that on somebody. All because you can't handle your stuff. You can't handle the truth of yourself and the decisions you decided to make in your life. And because God will send an avatar amongst you to hold you to your decisions, you would do anything to avoid being held to the results of your own decisions. You want to bask in the goodness of the years of all of the wickedness you've done. You want only the goodness. But then when the time comes for you to pay for the wickedness, you'll throw everybody under the bus, your own brother. You'll see the pain in your own father's face because you can't deal with you. The audacity of you. The audacity. And Joseph would get to a place where he would, as most people do when they are moving in alignment with God, he wouldn't hold it against them. How could he do that? Because he saw it already. He was reassured at every new leg of the journey Oh, wow, I remember seeing this. I saw this in a dream too. Okay, this is bigger than my brothers. My brothers don't have any power. God is using my brothers. I'm being used for a larger purpose. There is meaning to this experience, adding purpose to my life. Thus, changing what Joseph could have felt as resentment and as anger and frustration to fascination, intrigue, forcing him deeper in his alliance, his reliance upon God. He sees potential for something monumental, making life worth living. He's not thinking I'm going to be the king of this place and I'm going to do. He can't possibly have that in his mind. Probably doesn't even want anywhere near that level of responsibility. He's a dreamer. He's a lost in the clouds. I want to kick back and relax and be off to myself kind of person. He does not need the attention. But because he's connected to purpose, he can sacrifice his wants and his desires to set into any role God decides for him. And he will do it with a happy face because he knows he's connected to purpose. He doesn't see it as an inconvenience. He doesn't feel like, oh, these people, I'm going to go get them back because they did this and I'm going to get this. And it's not about them. But they think it's about them because they've gone no further than the good old days when they were back in Jacob's house being petty and wicked. They've gone no further. And they won't go any further. It was not Joseph's job to stop the flow of spiritual water in his life, to make his brothers feel comfortable. In fact, it would be against everything that God was looking to do in Joseph's life if Joseph would have allowed that. It was for Joseph to stand in the midst of his brothers and bless them with the information that he had for them, whether they wanted to receive it or not. Because at the end of the day, God's will was going to get done regardless. And if Joseph dropped the ball in doing it, trying to people please his brothers, Joseph would have lost. And God would have done it through somebody else. He would have been no greater than them. And it would have gotten done regardless. That's my message to you. Do not allow your desire to make people happy. I'm the type of person, I want people to feel happy. I can relate to so many people's situations. But I've got to be able to manage my level of relatability. I cannot become a slave or a subordinate to my relatability. I've got to always be the leader with the ability to relate. But I've got to lead regardless. And so do you. God put a calling in your life for you to enact upon it. Not for you to manipulate so that everybody feels comfortable about it. That's not it. And it doesn't make you a troublemaker. It doesn't make you living in the past or always bringing things up. You are a mere conduit of something greater. And that thing that is greater is God. And it is not for you to stop the flow of spiritual water in your life when it releases itself upon you. You must express it and allow that water to flow in whatever direction it is intended to flow in, and allow God to safeguard you while you do such things. That's your job. And we must be understanding to one another. Literally, we must. But we must not stop the flow of spiritual water. Some pills are hard pills to swallow. It doesn't mean that you hate the doctor for prescribing the pill to you. The doctor just diagnoses the situation out of expertise in alignment to something greater. Always looking to be useful. Always. Be good to yourselves, y'all, and be good to one another. Peace.